So BJ, thank you for joining me today.
You're welcome.
I'm excited because I get to hear a story.
Mm.
Love stories, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah, stories about the work. So, we'll let it wander however it does, but really, what was it like? What happened and what it's like now? I love that. Originally heard from 12 step stuff for me,
mm,
you know, telling your story of what it was like, what happened, what it's like now. But so just sharing with us, you know, what your life was like, what drew you, or how you met the work, how you found it, how you bumped into it, and what drew you to like say, "Ooh, this is interesting." You know, more
yeah,
more of that, please.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So my first introduction to the work was at a gathering that my partner and I were hosting in 2007. And my son was just like a month and a half old. Um,
Wow.
and I met a new friend at this gathering. It was a 10-day open space gathering, and so lots of people were bringing their own, um, things that they were interested in talking about and sourcing for the gathering. And it was based in, like, the common umbrella was, nonviolent communication.
Mhm.
Um, and so I was walking with this new friend outside, and there was something that I was complaining about. Um, and it was something like, how money makes people corrupt or something like that. Um, and and I was like, I was irked by this thing. And she was in my story, my memory, she was this fiery French woman, and she had a lot of opinions and a really eloquent way of expressing herself. And she said, "Stop right there," in a beautiful French accent. And I was like, "Oh, "Oh, surprised. Oh, okay. Stop what?" And she said, "Money cannot make someone what they are not. Nothing can make you what you're not, and you need to question those thoughts," or something like that. And I was like, "Question those thoughts? That sounds good. Like, what do you mean? How do you do that?" Like, I'm really interested in that. And so in the course of the gathering, she offered an introduction to the work. Um,
Mm.
and it was interesting and sparked for me right away. And I didn't get into it after that gathering right away because my son was just a
Right.
month and a half
Yeah.
old.
Yeah.
So, without much time for myself at all, I prioritized having a shower alone rather than,
Yes.
um, you
Yes.
know,
I
um,
remember. Yeah. Oh yeah.
rather than anything else. But then, yeah, once, he was like taking regular naps or whatever, like all of those kinds of things, I went right to it, and I got a book and I started watching YouTube videos and hearing Katie's, explanations of the work and watching her facilitate people was such a remembering, is how it felt in my system. Like, it was like, oh, she is doing the thing that I do, but I just don't know quite. I haven't looked into myself to know how to do it in it as exquisite a way as she does, or something like that.
That's
So
cool.
yeah, it really felt like, oh, this is what I am. Like, she's speaking from my heart. Is like, it felt like this, like there was just this like immediacy,
Yeah.
um, to
That's
yeah, to what I
wonderful.
experienced.
That's kind of wonderful. I remember having a similar feeling like with the "Is it true?" and but recognizing that I didn't like that
Mm,
I was always saying, "I don't know. I don't know if anything's true." And there's a problem here, like it was she
mm,
was speaking to and I could identify, like you're saying. And then that was started to be exciting that it was maybe okay if it wasn't true. I don't know,
mm,
something like that. But yeah, it's very I don't know, that was kind of cool the way you just put that, that you were seeing something was here in it that you thought, I'm already doing that.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it felt so familiar.
Yeah.
And in a way that was refreshing because it was like, that's what I'm doing, but I don't know how to, like, do that more. Like, I'm interested in whatever it is that she's doing, but I hadn't, like, known how to settle into it and explore it as deeply as, it seems that she has. And of course now I have taken that journey and really dived in with her and you and, other trainers and the institute and all of that.
Oh my gosh, I love it. So, did you read Loving What Is and then you were doing it by yourself? I mean, something must have led you to get to the school and do,
Yeah.
add it in. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I read, yeah, I think Loving What Is was my first book. I can't even remember at this point. It just all kind of mushes together. It was all
Mhm.
just like, yes, yes, yes. Um, yeah, and then just a couple years later, I went to the school and I told my family all about it, and my mom went with me to the school, and then all of the members of my family have been to this school, and
Wow.
yeah, I was like, "Oh
That's
my gosh, let's do this thing." And I
that's
feel so grateful that my family has been open.
that's really exciting. Wow,
Yeah.
how fun. How is
Yeah.
that? What do you think makes then that different with your family? I don't know, like when people have conversations or discussions, or just say a little more, but like how that affects having everyone in the family having gone to the school. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, there's definitely, to some extent, a shared framework.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, I think still in the family that there's a way that it's my thing. Like, I'm definitely more into it and more interested in it than anyone else. But
Uh-huh.
there's still a shared framework. There's still a, like, a knowing of how to, and that there is an accessibility to question thoughts.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Nice.
yeah,
How cool.
yeah.
Exciting. So if you remember, if you know, was there a like an inquiry that felt like a big one, or something that was, particularly stressful in your life that you had like a
Mm.
recognition or an insight or awareness from the work, like something shifted?
In the early days or in
Yeah,
the
yeah, either at the school or anywhere along the way, where you kind of went, oh, you know, any of that?
Yeah. Well, a big piece that continues to come for me is, like, whatever it is in my heart that had this yes, like, there also has been a story that's like, I'm so interested in that, and other people in the world aren't interested in that,
Oh,
in going as deeply into the heart and finding freedom and, this sort of maybe esoteric, I don't know, um, aspects of who and what we are. And that continues to be one of the big ones that I continue to work on the layers of the onion of that one.
yeah, that's cool. Yeah. People are
Yeah.
living lives out here and not wanting or paying attention or wanting to consider or take a look at the meaning.
Yeah, and wanting to pursue peace or, finding that that's important.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that's cool. It's a good one.
Yeah. Yeah, I often refer to that as my core story, and I look at it as like the shorthand, the one-liner is I'm different.
Oh,
Um,
yeah,
yeah.
that's a great. Um, I love noticing the core repetitive stories that come up for some
Mhm.
of us, like the hits. Your
Yeah.
my top 10 hits.
This
These are my songs.
this is my favorite. This is my go-to victim story
Yeah. I am
when I
different.
wanna feel alone.
Yeah. I love it. I joke my top one is I've been abandoned.
Mm.
You know, I'm all alone, and which is it a friendly side alley would be I'm different, because here I am
Yeah.
different in a place all by myself and everybody else is gone. You know, and
Yeah.
it's just like proving that. I mean, I don't know, I just find it so fun to stay in touch, and like there isn't something that's saying I should be looking at that. It just keeps on rotating back into it and going, wow. And it doesn't really, hasn't, the gap between thinking it from one time to the next time is very long. It feels like it's
Yeah.
gotten longer, or at least that could be a story too, but seems like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good story.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Don't have a problem with that story.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so it's sweet. Um, Anything else? I like sometimes thinking about that school where you really get to dive in and sit for 9 days, like discoveries.
Mm.
What'd you find there? That is because it isn't that amazing that you get to just sit in the work for 9 days straight?
Yes. Yes.
Love that.
Yes. Oh.
Yeah, what do you think if there is one, a before and after for you, or something that
Mhm.
you found there that was really powerful?
Mhm. Yeah, so a lot of my relationship with other people and with the world shifted in terms of, my relationship to peace. It was like I the story before that, and still to some extent, but certainly it seems more before the school was, I am so interested in peace and these other people aren't, and therefore I can't access my peace as much. I have to wait. I'm influenced by this culture, by this situation, by everything that's going on around me. It was as though I didn't have permission,
Uh,
to be what I am and to be interested in what I'm interested in. Um, if the others around me weren't also prioritizing that, or and I just found the immediacy of my essence doesn't ever have to wait for anyone else to get it. It was like my heart became the size of the massive room that we were in, and everyone was in my heart, and everyone was peace, and they didn't need to do anything for me to know that they were already peace and I was peace too, and it was just like whoa, whoa, whoa. It was like,
okay.
okay, okay, it's me, I don't need you to do anything, it's all over here.
Wow. I love that reference to waiting. I don't have to wait. Here I am,
Yeah.
not waiting.
Mm.
I mean, what a beautiful.
Yeah.
Isn't that just that's a beautiful way to put it?
Yeah.
It's like
Mm.
you'll see the thing like in the mind, at least, like when that happens, that'll be amazing. Like
Right.
great stuff. Or I don't know, it's just so funny. Yeah, like
Yeah.
that's very these ideas, some of them are so old because it wasn't like that when
Yeah.
we were babies,
Mm.
speaking of having children, but you're just being,
Right.
but that capacity for the mind to think about what we think will be awesome, and then it'll be really amazing, really peaceful
Right.
when that,
Right.
or this needs to
Yeah.
stop for me to be peaceful, like somebody yelling,
Right.
or the political situation, or you know
Yeah.
and like here's a really interesting question that I've gotten a lot. I bet you've gotten it too. If I get really peaceful,
Mm.
I won't do anything.
Right.
I won't step up, or I'll it's not quite I'll never achieve that goal, because I think people can kind of get like, wow, I really need that thing that I think is a goal or whatever, or I need this to go away in order to be happy. Is that actually true? I don't know. I could be happy today, but then that fear of being passive or
Mhm.
just not having a thought at all. It's dangerous or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
So have you ever had that, or what would you
Yeah,
speak to
yeah.
that?
Well, and it's so pervasive, like, I get it, I understand it, because it seems as though, when I witness my movement, my movement in the world, I think that I'm the one doing the moving, and it comes from me, the one doing the thinking. The thinking happens and then the moving happens. And it's like there's a movement that happens that is what I am, that is prior to and apart from, the thinking. Um,
Mm,
and yeah, that's something that you can't just get unless like, it's like you gotta experience that. You have to
yeah.
be able, and it seems like be able and willing to go into that experience, and the experiment of being without the thought and witnessing the movement still happening, and actually happening in a more effortless way. There's actually less barrier to being my own essence, and expressing whatever it is I want to happen in the world.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. So in some ways, the great exploration is, who would I be without the thought? What a question.
Yeah.
I mean, I think before encountering, the work was the most simple way to do it. And really, it's in many traditions, wondering who you are without thinking,
Right.
like very old meditative, contemplative traditions of all kinds,
Mhm.
what's going on here without a thought about it, you know? Um,
Right.
and I just had no reference. I wasn't sure, you know, and touching in
Mhm.
on that, like it's almost, you can do that. You can, you know, yeah, that's the great, like, who would I be without the thought? What's here without thought? So that reverberation, I love the way you just went roar, roar, in the room, roar, yes, like a hum,
Mhm.
great
Mhm.
hum, GH.
The GH, yes. I might be the GH
Yeah,
without that thought.
yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Which is just amazing. But the liberation of feeling the surrender of that, not being in charge, is really something. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Really sweet to just get to see what you, doesn't mean you just lay down on the floor all day,
right.
or whatever the line says is dangerous about not thinking.
Yeah,
Yeah, so funny. Oh my
yeah.
gosh. Super fun. I mean, I love it. I love,
Mm,
thank you. It's just so great. It's like,
mm,
because that can, it's just with everything, anything that ever happens. So I know you were just sharing me before we started this, you had somebody, a family member die. Yeah,
mm.
your uncle.
Yeah.
That was one of the most profound inquiries at the school, to like sit with death and what is death, and
Yeah.
that it's a tragedy or very sad, or there's a missing, or and then everything about it, just everything about it.
Yeah.
Because my felt like my dad had died too young, very young, of
Mm.
cancer, and thought that was just a
Right.
story I'd carry forever. And it's like a thing. So something has happened, but
Mm.
not without a thought about it.
Right.
Yeah, it's still, the heart can be very, very full. Like I still might have tears come up when my father's been dead for 30 years or
Mm.
something. I think it's 30 years this year. And I still might see people that look like him, like the age he was when he died. I thought, oh, he's never aging. He's always the same age, you know. Um,
Right.
and have like little, oh, my dad, or like I would say the words are, I'd love to talk to him. I miss him or something. And then it's right there though, like I can talk to him right now. It's
Yeah.
just really amazing that, yeah, that the change of that story.
Yeah.
Anything traumatic, I'd say, or that feels quote unquote traumatic,
Yeah.
like a loss. So yeah, wow,
Yeah. Mm.
really sweet.
So sweet.
Yeah. Anything else to share? I love it. Anything else?
Yeah, I'm curious to ask you a question.
Sure.
Um, yeah, so like there's so many ways to look at the work, right? And I think often we're looking sort of from the outside in or from the inside out, It's sort of like if I get into the work, what is that going to be like, from out here? And then like once I'm in it, what is it, what changes? And and I kind of have been feeling into curiosity for myself of like other like people who are super passionate about the work, kind of looking, I don't know, the way that it occurs to me is from the inside in
Oh,
instead of like back out to the out, whatever that means. But like what, eh, if anything comes to you when you're in the experience of inquiry and in that, connection or however you experience it, what what does it feel like you become, or what is that gesture for you?
hmm. When I'm in the experience of like being in the work, in the
Yeah.
work. Yeah, what a great question. In the middle of the work, I do think of it as like this practice or process that's maybe underway, that where thoughts are happening, thinking is happening, which is still a great curiosity. It's like,
Mm.
where does that actually end, and just being start, and the whole images and
Yeah.
pictures and anticipation of what's next or whatever, or just noticing, like maybe even a clenching. So being in the work, I guess in this, here's my answer of thinking, there's, I remember I looked up once in the dictionary what work was. Like it was like
Mm.
physics, energy meeting that creates something like it. So there's some sort of motion happening with energy and whatever we're calling work, like,
Yeah.
so there's momentum happens and something goes on. And it feels like, yeah, I like that Byron Katie says it's called the work because it's actually work, you know. Anyway, I feel like that's being in it.
Yeah.
I'm noticing something that comes across the canvas that's like a clenching or or no, or I have an old uh, family member basically who I'm distantly related, who sent me a message requesting a conversation, and I thought, oh, the conversation is going to be me listening for an hour,
Mm. Mm.
which is fine, um, and I'm free to say no,
Yeah.
no, yes or no. Um, but probably no opinion of mine will be required. In fact, it's almost
Mm.
not wanted in
Right.
my experience. So it's like this little, and I just watched the work. So being in the work, I guess, is sort of like watch that go chicka 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 chicka. Like I could say no. No, I just don't want to do that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it was like, well, is it true? Like, is it, maybe it's okay to be there for, this is rarely requested, or I don't know, the measurement that happens, which is also chicka 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 chicka, you know, and then just getting to see, is it going to happen or is it not going to happen? And it happened, and it was very easy, and I don't know, not much was needed. And but watching that thing that anticipated, you know, what this thing
Yeah.
might look like, and that it um, is that how I want to spend my time, was kind of like the thing that was there.
Mhm.
So it felt like some sort of work was happening. Um, yeah, and I feel like that's this sort of a minor thing. It's just what occurred to me to share, because there might be things that feel more intense. Oh, like I have a child that came out this year,
Mm.
and there was thoughts about their, you know, that just I had no idea would be appearing, about their lack of safety in the world. Basically, that's what it came down to. I'm like, wow, I am so, I feel so open-minded, and like even like a staunch supporter of free freedom, and around any of this, and the beauty of all that, and even people living lives that just morph and change and flow, and all of that, very free. And so I was surprised it had to have any clenching on it. And
Mm.
it was just like, oh, because the world won't be kind.
Yeah.
And then this then came the work. You know, it was like, wow, okay, I sit with this, look at my thought on paper. This child will not be safe.
Yeah.
Not a safe culture to live in. It's really sad. um, my child had said something like, well, I need to stay in this place and never go visit that place, because that place isn't safe. So they were saying it's not safe. And then it was like, oh, that's terrible to not feel free. And, you know, like, um, so just sitting with that, and still underway in some ways, but so much lighter. And just watching it come, like, so just like it was just in it, because there was a, oh, too bad. And now it's like,
Yeah.
oh, could be the turnaround. It's gonna be awesome.
Mm.
Maybe I'll be a part of maybe I'll be a part of that awesomeness and shift and greater expansion for whatever it is to be trans and LGBTQ plus, all that awesome stuff. You know, I don't know, you know, it was just like, okay, I'm on that train
Mm.
closely, because this person I care about so much is on it. So it just started to undo itself with me, though, attending to, is it true?
Yeah.
Wow, look at you getting so scared. Look at those
Mm.
images. You know, it was just bam, they were right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
It happened. Oh my gosh, there was this one time, uh, sitting in a cleanse, which is that annual event for listeners, you know, that where Byron Katie is up on stage and everybody's in the audience, and then one person gets in the chair with her and does the work. And I was just sitting and eyes closed, and then sometimes taking notes, and then laying on my floor, on the floor, on my stomach, on the side, you know, after you get tired of sitting in
Mm.
the chair in the big giant conference room, laying on my stomach and writing some notes and listening. And all of a sudden I had the thought, I've never done the work.
Mm.
Like I just went, I have never done the work. Oh my God, I've never done the work before. And it was just something with, like, it's the idea of it's working me. I
Yeah.
just was drawn. I was so drawn. And I knew my brain was so active with lack of safety, and basically, and,
Yeah.
you know, disappointment. And something was so drawn, even though I didn't even know how to answer the question, is it true, at first. Um, and then I just fell into it. And then anyway, so it was just some kind of funny, I don't know, it was hilarious to me because I look back and I go like, I remember the moment so much, but I don't remember what I was thinking right before that or what was going on. There's something going on in the conversation where I suddenly was like, I'm not even the one doing doing the work for X amount of years. It was like hilarious to me. So that's what it feels like being worked, which is so grateful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What it sounds like from all that you've been saying is like one interpretation that I make of it is like unselfing or something like that. Like,
That's great. Yeah.
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 Mm.
This is me and I'm doing it. And also the way the mind likes to have a formula, like, oh, this actually works. So now I will start doing it,
Yeah.
and all the stuff that goes with that. And like, but you really don't know.
Right.
Oh my gosh, it's so fun.
Right. And then that's the beginning of time. Like it because it trickles out back forward and backward of like what was I before this? What will I be after this? And
Yeah.
we make a plan. I'm like
Yes.
it's like attempting to make a fuller picture of what it is that I am, which is selfing through appearing that I was this thing before and that I will be this thing after. It's like, yeah, the creation of time is selfing, the story of I.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so powerful. I know. Time. Oh my
Time.
God.
Oh my God.
Whoa. I know.
Mm,
Beautiful. Wow. How fun, BJ.
mm,
Wow. It's wonderful to meet you here
mm.
again. And yeah, just touching, it's like touching with touching in with those who are apparently doing the work too, and even those who apparently aren't. Like,
Yeah.
all of it just, it's really also such an adventure.
Yeah.
So I'm so happy to connect with you today.
Mm. Me too.
Yeah.
I appreciate you contacting me and inviting me to this conversation.
Oh, you're so welcome. I just love it. So
Mm.
fun. Sometimes just wait to see, like, you know, who will I be talking to next? And then the world, it's shown.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, so cool. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for the work that you do.
Mm. Likewise. You've been an inspiration to me.
Oh, oh, you're welcome. Awesome. Yay.
Yay.
So good.